views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are the content creator's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Essex County College. The material and information presented here is for entertainment and informative purposes only. It should not be considered as professional advice or a substitute for seeking professional guidance.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Loner, and well, yeah, today was supposed to be the day that I was going to record another episode, but unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to finish the video on time. And if you remember by now, it was short form slobs. And in one of those things I said something about the iPhone. How even if you try to use an iPhone, it's not going to look like a movie because the sensors are completely different compared to a full frame camera and even the mirrorless camera. So like whether you use a Sony, a Canon, Panasonic, the sensors itself and even the camera, like no matter the logs itself is completely different compared to what you have already seen in the movies. And in this case, this new film produced by ASA, or at least directed by Mariana, has been produced on a Panasonic G7. But the point is, today I'm gonna go ahead and give you a different topic, unfortunately. And this is again because I wasn't able to finish the video on time. And since it's November 24th, only 2 days before the next episode should have arrived, I'm gonna go ahead and challenge the editor and see how long will it take for me to go ahead and edit this portion of my. How long would it take to make a loner podcast within 2 days? Let's just say Monday I record the episode, Tuesday they have to go ahead and do the graphics and editing if they have the time to do so, and Wednesday you get to see my show. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Anyways, I'm already wasting my time, so let's go on and talk about what I wanted to talk about today. And it's about Christmas. Even though tomorrow is going to be Thanksgiving. I mean, I just don't really see the reason why, when it comes to people who decide maybe after Halloween it's a good idea for us to celebrate Christmas, and they forget a lot about Thanksgiving. They don't really care about the whole parade. They don't even care about the whole turkey. But then again, if you like Christmas, if you love Christmas, then be my guest. And actually, I'm going to save my theories later on, even though there's no theories to begin with. But it is what it really is. Let's go ahead and just say we have some Christmas decorations. They go ahead and put that just after Halloween. I mean, I feel like, in my opinion, they don't really give a chance for the Native Americans or even the historians to celebrate and even acknowledge Thanksgiving. I mean, if you ever want to know more about Thanksgiving, then there's always this one tradition that everybody does. And unfortunately, you can only see it on Apple TV, not on ABC, not on PBS. It's basically one of those peanut specials where every holiday they're going to give you something different. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown for Halloween, and then the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving, and then their first peanut special for Christmas, which I think you already saw by now, and that's only because there are channels who decide they're going to be airing Christmas specials, and so if you go to December, then unfortunately you didn't make it on time, you have to wait until next year to watch those specials. But then again, this is just me saying I'm not forcing myself for me to go ahead and do a whole Christmas special. But since that's the way we want to do it, then screw it. Might as well go ahead and talk a little bit about Christmas instead. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Santa Claus and how he's not real. I feel like there are going to be grown adults who believe in, and even the kids as well, who believe in Santa Claus, and then there are people who don't believe in Santa Claus. Now, I already talked about being a Christian family, but now let me go ahead and talk about this now. There will be some occasions where we go to church and then we have to go ahead and dedicate Christmas to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And there is this one stupid belief, I think I can go to hell for it. I said that Jesus dies back in Easter and then he comes back. It's like a video game. Like, once we go to church, we obviously go ahead and just celebrate the birth of Jesus, and we acknowledge that through a play. And even if it's not a play, then we go ahead and acknowledge that through the Bible. That's what we usually do back then, but now I don't really see the point of us just celebrating Christmas, because there will be times that even if there is a holiday, you have to be happy, you have to be all festive. But unfortunately for some people, it's like a regular day to them, which means Christmas isn't. I wouldn't say that Christmas is losing value. I only feel like in the past, I'd say Christmas was fun to look at. And I imagine the AI Christmas, and I just imagine the AI commercials itself. I don't really get the reason why Coca-Cola decides to make this mistake twice. And you know what? I can talk way worse than just the AI commercials. And then there are some things where we believe more on the naughty and the nice list. I mean, I imagine if this campus decides they'll go ahead and hire Mr. Otter, hire some grown adult to go ahead and just just buy a Santa Claus costume out of Amazon or somewhere else, and then we'll find a way to go ahead and do a Christmas special at least. They already have a Christmas show coming up anyway, but again, this is only me recording this within a week, so I'm not really too sure about the new details. I'm not really too sure about the holiday show. More details will be. I actually don't have any more details for you, but yeah, unfortunately, when it comes to college as well, they go ahead and also advertise some things at the very last second, such as the Raymond one. The whole anime Raymond one got canceled, and so I don't really see the reason why that happened. Likely because of low attendance or because of the delivery being late. I'm not sure. So instead, we decided to go ahead and just watch a couple of movies, and we just ate some pizza. So everybody just gets two slices of the pizza, and it's like a grab and go experience before we go to our club. And then afterwards, I already felt how isolating it feels to be in the art club. And even that, even speaking as a visual artist myself, I still don't get the reason why I'm still in this club when I know life is going to be isolating unless if I meet someone like Columbus. But aside from Columbus, I think I want to talk about Christmas specials next. Not only because I'm realizing, or at least I've noticed, how repetitive they are. There are persons, or at least there's someone who wants to go ahead and save Christmas. I feel like I've already seen this plot multiple times to where it just becomes predictable. And like I said, Christmas is supposed to be festive, but at the cost of watching the same special, the same plot, I don't really see anything unique behind a Christmas special. Like, I can see someone go ahead and make a whole film where someone tries to save Christmas, but I can tell you right now, it's already been done multiple times, and so I don't really see the reason why would I want to go ahead and keep watching it just for the sake of nostalgia. Right? Aside from that, this is just my opinion, so I don't got anything else to say. At least we got something out of it. And just a little fun fact, at least if you know by now, there's also this special called, I believe, Jesus versus Santa, or I'm just getting that reversed, but it's part of the Spirit of Christmas series. I mean, that was before South Park that was just way before South Park was established in '97. And yeah, I guess when it really comes to animation as well, it's still as difficult. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and see if I still want to do stop motion animation or even some cardboard animation. Actually, not cardboard animation, but probably construction paper to go ahead and do this animation. Like, how long is it gonna take? 1 week before I decide. Maybe I'm gonna get myself an A or a B over a 90-second animation. But don't worry, I have music as well, so none of this should be a big deal. Even though I can't really find songs for myself, at least I got my own music video, which is under XG24. And so next time I'm gonna be looking at Lost in Jersey City. That's probably going to be the next single, hopefully. Before I go, I want to go ahead and talk about A Lonely Staircase. In other words, the film is called SCP-9999. Apparently, this is one of the new films that Ace decided to make, or at least Mariana directed this film. But I still call this more as a production. And from what I know, or at least from what I researched, apparently, it's basically a foundation, or at least a sacred organization that's responsible for capturing, containing, and studying various paranormal, supernatural, and other mysterious phenomenons, while also keeping their existence hidden from the rest of society. So, in other words, they're just going to go ahead and make a whole parody, or at least try to make a whole film inspired by the SCP Foundation. So, they decided to go ahead and do that. Looking back at what I said previously, the original script was 4 pages, and that was produced back in May. Like, the whole script was written back in May. They just didn't really do anything up until they announced it on November. And this was mostly promoted over on Instagram, named Missing Friends Productions. Now, in my opinion, I would say it's one of their weaker films because and this is not because I've listened to the whole audio. I actually listened to the whole, at least I watched the whole film on mute. So I'm not going to describe the sound design out of it because I didn't listen to it. What I will focus on mostly is going to be the visuals and just the story itself. So when it really comes to horror films, I actually met Jazzy and Eric, and we made a whole film called Misconception. This was also a horror film that the two students came up with. I was the one who decided to go ahead and edit these videos, and that was because it was just a small group. But I will say that at the end of the day, like even after learning how to make a film, I also learned that even as far as making a whole movie, not every film should always end with a title card and then roll the end credits. So otherwise, in this film, you can say I was trying to go ahead and attempt to do some rotoscoping, and even I used the same flickering effect as seen in the film. Except the only differences in that film, at least in their film, we only used an iPhone 16 to go ahead and make the whole movie, and that was like 30 frames per second. Otherwise, this was originally supposed to be rendered at 60 frames, but the whole video that Eric decided to go ahead and submit to me was only rendered at 30 frames per second. So I decided to go ahead and make the whole film turn into 30 frames per second. Although the original version was at least 60 frames. But I also noticed some errors when it really comes to the whole film, and this is more about the color grading. I would say as an amateur filmmaker, as a beginner filmmaker, you have to be more consistent, and you have to pay more attention to the colors as well. Mostly because I see that there are portions of the film are being used have an iPhone, and then there's also their G7 footage, which again comes from Lumix or Panasonic. I believe that camera already does a better job capturing on how the setting looks, rather than the iPhone itself. Like there are times where it's appropriate for you to go ahead and use your iPhone to do some low light shots and even some B-roll shots, but even then, like if you already have a mirrorless camera, then it could really do a good job, rather than what you already did with your iPhone. And that's where I would say is the consistencies are not there, which includes the color grading and the frame rates. Because there are portions where if they do use an iPhone, they can go ahead and set that up to 30 frames per second, when there is an option to go ahead and do 24 frames per second. But otherwise, that's my only critique on the film. No, it's not just about the story itself, but it's more about the color grading and how they execute the frame rates and footage. I would say if you paid close attention to the frame rates, and if you paid close attention to the original camera files compared to the iPhone, then you have to be more consistent. And if your G7 or at least any camera cannot capture any low light shots, it's a better idea that you either go ahead and upgrade that to a better camera, or at least have someone to go ahead and buy a camcorder, a professional one, or a full frame camera to go ahead and experience that without having to make consistencies within the colors. And then otherwise, we have the staircase, which seemed like it was more like a loop that was going somewhere, but I'm not really sure where it was going. I wasn't really sure where the film was going. And then there were some missed potentials, including the props, which they could have just had some walkie-talkies, and then I think it took 4 to 5 minutes just to go ahead and see that monster or the creature that they've storyboarded or at least made. And then there were some blood scenes and some violent scenes as well, but I guess based on what I would have saw, it's probably just an off-camera death scene. And then we just see some blood that just looks like they sprayed watercolor paint in red over real blood. And I believe if we're gonna make I feel like this was just an attempt for them to do a horror film, and I think this is more like trial and error to me. I would say for myself that Yearn is one of their better films, or at least one of Ace's better films, than the film that he just made alongside with Ghosting. But then again, those two films are different, and because Blue Hour is directed by Richard, which again he has impressed me with his music video Happy Before, I believe I'm going to cheer for him actually. So hopefully by the time I do decide to go ahead and do a whole coverage around the film festival, this will be their redeeming arc, or at least their redeeming film. So I would say I'm not really a fan of their latest film, but I wouldn't say it's one of their worst films. I feel like a lot could have been done better, especially with how there's only one cast. There's only one guy doing the whole thing. So that's all I can really say. I feel like at the end of the day, there are some films that can be worked with only one guy, but then if you're gonna make a whole SCP film, it's better off that you try to go ahead and really understand more about what SCP means, and maybe just understand more about the lore, than to go ahead and just only briefly look at it and then just think it's a good idea to make a whole film. Anyways, if you told me this was the film that you were working on, then try again next time. That being said, that's going to be about it for me, so hope you guys enjoyed this last minute episode of The Loner. And once again, I'd like to apologize because I wasn't really able to finish the video on time, which was short form slobs. Hopefully, if I make it on time, I will either do this. Here's what's going to happen instead. A, I will push back that schedule to next week so I'll have more time to finish the documentary, or B, you'll be seeing 2 videos within the same date, which means you'll be seeing the by December 10th, you'll be seeing the questions and answers video, and then afterwards I'll be giving you the laws video, short form slobs. So either of those 2 outcomes can happen. But aside from that, it's going to be about it for me, so again, sorry about that, but hey, at least you got a last minute episode. Until then, I will come back with another announcements video next week.
This has been a production of the Essex County College Podcast Club. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.